Welcome back, everybody. My name is Taylor Martin. This is the best Damn EDC, and for the last 2 or 3 years, I've been getting a lot of questions about what I use to sharpen my EDC knives, and I've bounced around between a lot of different systems and tried all the different things, and I finally landed on one and what I think is the best bang for your buck sharpener on the market right now, and that is this right here, the WorkSharp Precision Adjust. They sent one to me way early, and I got a lot of time to figure it out and really get to know it, and I really like this thing a lot, actually. And though originally it did have some limitations, WorkSharp has addressed that, and that's what we're going to talk about today with the WorkSharp Precision Adjust Upgrade Kit. So with that said, let's do the damn thing. So this right here is the WorkSharp Precision Adjust, and it's very similar to a lot of different clamp and jig style sharpeners. This one is a little different in that it has this carriage or a rod which has 3 different plates on it. So you have 2 diamond plates, a 320 grit diamond, a 600 grit diamond, and then you have a fine ceramic plate, and that is so you can hone. So you don't have to swap these things out, you can just rotate it, which is really, really nice, very convenient. And it's really easy to use this thing. And much like every clamp and jig system, it's very, very simple to use. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of what you're doing, especially because this WorkSharp right here has angle select. So this one can go all the way from 15 to 30 degrees by 1 degree increments. Obviously, if you use something like an angle cube, you can get even more fine-tuned than that. So you can eliminate the variable of what angle you're sharpening at. And when you clamp a knife into here, you're eliminating the movement of the knife. So those are 2 variables that get thrown out right away. You don't have to worry about those. Getting the knife clamped in here can be a little bit tricky and takes some getting used to. And there are some, like with any sharpening method, there are some little antics with this thing. Little things that you'll come to know about this that can make sharpening a little more difficult at times, and sometimes it's just a breeze. But the whole point in a clamp and jig system like this is removing those variables and making the system easy and almost foolproof. So between being able to clamp your knife in and selecting the angle and knowing what angle you're at, it creates repeatable sharpening. But of course, one of the limitations, the biggest limitation of this system right here, just the base Precision Adjust, is the carriage. That's one of the most convenient things about it, but it's also one of the most limiting factors, and that is that originally you were limited to 3 different abrasives, 320, 600 grit diamonds, and a ceramic. That's it. If you wanted to go finer, too bad. If you wanted to go more coarse, too bad. You were limited to these right here, and that was really the big limiting factor to this system. And WorkSharp heard you guys loud and clear, which is why they introduced the upgrade kit. This is, as it's aptly named, an upgrade kit for the Precision Adjust. What that means is you're not getting the Precision Adjust in this. This is a kit to upgrade your Precision Adjust. And what it includes is 3 more abrasives, including this case. You do get a little soft shell case as well, but you get 3 more carriages, not abrasives. There are actually 7 new abrasives in here. You have a triangle or tri-abrasive with 220, 320, and 400 grit diamond plates. You have a 600, 800 grit diamond plates, and then a ceramic. And then this last one down here, you have a ceramic rod for sharpening serrations and a strop on the underside. So you get all of this and the case, and this will set you back another $80. So that brings the total for both of these to $120. Or if you don't have a Precision Adjust, you can buy the Precision Adjust Elite, which is just both of these together. It's the exact same thing. So you can get all of this together in one for $120, or you can buy them separately. If you already have one, this is 80 bucks, same price. Okay, so let's open this up and show you what's inside. I actually have mine set up a little different. I took my stuff out, but I will show you how I use mine and how I keep it set up inside here, like the other stuff I keep inside. But you get this little plastic tray which holds the rods. So there's a 4th slot because you can put the original rod in here as well. Just kind of snaps into place. And then you notice down here at the bottom, you have cutouts for the original sharpener. So you can carry everything together and it nests very nicely. It has this little elastic clip. closes up very nicely. So that's everything you get in the kit. The 3 new abrasives, or 3 new rods, 7 abrasives, and a way to keep it all together nice and neat. So what I do with my kit is I keep a few other things in here as well. I keep some honing compound in here for the strop. I have an eraser, which is really good for cleaning off the stones and the ceramic. You get little pieces of metal in there, and it's nice to just wipe them away with this. It's not a great solution. Water is a little better for that, but this is just a quick and dirty dry solution for cleaning. I have some alcohol prep pads for the knives that stay in there. I have a tool, because sometimes I like to take my knife apart and just have the blade clamped in without the handle. So that goes over here, and then I have a chisel tip Sharpie, which I'll show you what that's for as well. So let's talk about the additional abrasives and what that means for what you can do with your sharpener or to your edge. The 220 grit, I think, is my favorite upgrade here in the kit, and that's because this 220, the first time you sharpen a knife with this system, most likely you're going to want to reprofile that edge just to make sure that everything is at the same degree. And this 220 just makes quick work of reprofiling. It's still going to be kind of laborious. It's going to take some time, but this is faster than the 320, and this 400 is just a nice stepping stone to get you from that 320 to the 600, right? Before you went 320, 600, now you can throw that 400 in there as a stopgap, and that lets you choose really the amount of toothiness that your final edge will have. You can have a more toothy, sharpened edge, or you can have a very smooth edge. We're gonna skip over this because we already talked about that. The other one, you have this 600, which you had before, and then you have one more stop at 800 before you go to the ceramic. So you can really get super fine with that. And the edge that you can put on your knife with this is blistering sharp. It's probably not mirror edge. It's not gonna be a true mirror finish on the edge, but it is super sharp. I sharpened my Inkosi with this yesterday, and again, I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not great at sharpening, but this is ridiculously sharp. And then the strop, I really like that they added a strop to this, because before you had to take it out of the clamp. I mean, I guess you could leave the clamp on, but you had to strop it, and then maybe if you have to go back and reclamp it, you know, it's just really nice to have this as a part of this integrated system. I really like having the strop in there. And that is something that I think a lot of people overlook, stropping your knife. This can take you from a pretty good edge to a great edge with just a strop. And that is also one of the best maintenance tips I can give you, is you may not even need to resharpen or even hone the edge. You may just need to strop it. So start there. If your knife doesn't seem as hair-popping sharp as you feel it should be, just try to strop it first before you go to one of these lower grits. Try stropping it first, then maybe try the ceramic. If neither of those work, then work your way back and go to something like a 320, probably just a 600, honestly. But still, this gives you way more flexibility in what you can do with the sharpener and where you can start and finish your edge. So why don't I take one of these knives that I've got here that needs to be sharpened and show you my process. We're back for the third time. Unfortunately, I also have this Work Sharp branded tumbler for some much needed medicine for the way that this week and especially this day has gone. Just saying. I am not kidding you when I say that this is the third try at making this video. It has tested my patience, but we will persevere. I have this knife now. I'm running out of knives to sharpen, like no joke. I've sharpened my Inkosi and the Fahrenforge Stinger and the Berg Blaze Pup and about 3 others trying to shoot this video. So now we will, and I should say, before I go any further, it has nothing to do with the sharpener at all. It's been great. It's been everything to do with these 3 cameras, not this microphone, but the other microphone that died on me. Like died, not the battery, the mic. Just brand new mic. Just decided, nah, I don't want to work anymore. Yeah, it's been a week. Nonetheless, let's start with this. Let's sharpen a knife. I think that sets the tone pretty good. As I've said 3 times now, I like to take my knife apart when I sharpen it. Not always, sometimes I'm in too much of a hurry, but I think it just kind of helps in various ways. Namely, sometimes the handle can actually get in the way. It can stop you from sharpening the heel of the blade. it's also less to work with, right? It's less to get in the way, less mess. Not really, it's more mess. But regardless, I like to take my knife apart. It is not a necessary step. That's all I'm trying to say. And I should learn to say things in fewer words. So I'm gonna do that right now. Well, that was easier than expected. We can just leave the whole handle together. Cool, 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 cool. Fun thing that I learned, discovered in the last take, is that if you are having to totally disassemble a knife, it's nice to have something like this little Ziploc so that you can keep everything together while you're sharpening your knife. Not really necessary when it comes apart like this, but just a little pro tip. If you have a little Ziploc like that, save one from a knife or something you buy so that you can keep your parts in it while you're sharpening a knife. So when it comes down to it, if I had to choose one thing about this whole system and in any clamp and jig system that can be the most difficult part, I would say almost across the board is going to be the clamping part, because there's so many, that's the biggest variable, right? So clamping it, you know that the blade is fixed, but figuring out exactly how to clamp it is the tricky part sometimes. This blade is going to be very easy. I can tell you that right now. I've struggled in the past to sharpen the heel, so that tells me, just from trial and error, that I want to keep this straight on with that rod. So I don't want to be coming at this at an angle. I want to hit the heel of the blade at a straight angle, just 90 degrees. And then this is going to be okay, just kind of, it'll take care of itself. But it's going to be trial and error for you when you are clamping a blade to figure out where the best placement is. I will tell you now that I'm not the best at clamping, and it's something that you have to just toy with, and I'll show you a little tip that'll make things a little bit easier, at least in your trial and error. But once you get it to where you think is a good spot, tighten down the screw and put it in here. Now this is where the Sharpie comes into play. So I know approximately what I sharpened this at, I think, if I remember. So I have sharpened this one before, but I did not do a good job. The heel is dull, the tip is dull. So what you do is you take the Sharpie and run it along the edge of the knife. Just get a nice dark line on there across the whole edge. And then you want to take one of your ceramic rods, or not rods, ceramic plates or stones, and set your angle to what you think it might be. Now there are angle guides that will help you if you want to know for sure or get a better idea, but this is a really good way to gauge that angle without really removing material. You're using a ceramic rod, and you're just going to see what at 20 degrees is removed from the bevel. I can go ahead and tell you that I think I sharpened this at a smaller angle. Let's go back up. I might have just sharpened it just under 20. Let's just check 19. That's not an angle I want to be at, but I might have even sharpened it something a little higher. There it is. That's it. It's 19 degrees. That's not really the angle I want. And just to check, you want to do the same thing with the other side. And yeah, that's very clearly the right angle. That Sharpie is almost completely gone. Not exactly what I wanted to do, but that's going to make this easy. Just for demonstration, 19 degrees it is. I put that line back on there, and then we're going to switch to a more coarse stone. Put it on a job like this, where I know that this heel and the tip were not sharpened properly when I first did it, I'm going to drop down to 220 and make quick work of it. Just keep to about the same amount of passes each side. Really try to keep track of that. I'd do like 4, and then I flip, and 4 and flip. And you just go back and forth until you have a burr along the entire edge, and that is when you can progress to the next stone. So we're going to start with 220 right here, and hopefully get it done quickly. So one thing I will say, just based on my experience, the thing I've learned, I would say most recently, is that I've always just kind of used too much pressure. As soon as I stopped using so much pressure, sharpening became a whole lot easier. It's so hard for somebody to like gauge how much pressure. Somebody's like, light pressure, but what is that? You know, it's hard to really know. But after I really kind of realized that was my problem, this became a lot easier. So I think it's just something that pretty quickly you'll find. And I've already got the start of a burr here. Like I said, this one wasn't totally dull. It was just the heel and the tip. I think I've already got most of a burr here. It's good. If you're not sure if there's a burr, you just need to run your fingernail along the underside and it'll catch. And if it catches, there's a burr. If it slides right off, there's no burr. So there's not really a burr here at the tip, and the burr doesn't go all the way down to the heel. So we're gonna flip and keep going. I would say probably the most common mistakes that you'll make when you first get started with a system like this, or really any sharpening system, is rounding out the tip. It's something that can happen so easily. It's something I've done to many of my knives. But what I've learned is if you're not putting nearly as much pressure, it doesn't really happen as much. I've not been doing it nearly as much since I stopped applying so much pressure. And the other thing, I told you that the heel and the tip are really the hard parts to get sharp. The heel is something that it can pose a lot of problems. You'd think it'd be a really easy part of the blade to sharpen, but it can be tricky just because thumb studs can get in the way. The angle of it just gets, it's sometimes that is way more difficult for me to get sharp than the tip, which is really frustrating because in theory it should be the easiest part. And then when I finally got to the point where I'm ready to progress, the one thing I do is just deburr it. So you take the same coarseness, so we're still at 220, and just run it up the edge a couple times. Really very, very light pressure, barely any pressure at all. That deburrs it, flip, and do the same thing on the other side. And then I do one on each, and then we go to the next stone. And then once you have finally reached a point where you have progressed to or past the finest stone on this carriage, you move on to the next one, which would be the next new one, 600 grit. So that's going to be the next stop. And then you just continue doing the same exact thing. You're going to do the same passes on each side, develop a burr, flip it, keep going until you get to 800. Then you're going to do the ceramic. And really, at any point at this point, you can stop. This is the point where you can choose whether you want kind of a toothy finish with that 400 grit, or if you want a smoother finish, a really, really nice acute edge that's very finished. Now, you're not going to get to a true mirror finish on this. You can get pretty close, but this is not really designed for that. Now we're at the point that I think a lot of people overlook, the strop. Now this is done just obviously a little bit differently than the stone because you don't want to be pushing up into the blade or you'll just cut straight into the leather and ruin your strop. So you want to be coming either tip down, or you can go pull it down, you're pulling down the slide or down the rod as you're going up the blade. So kind of a sweeping motion. I find it a little easier to work from the tip down. That's what she said. That is definitely what she said. We're almost finished. Despite having shot this video 3 times now, I have still not remembered to bring something to test this on. I don't want to use the manual. Is there anything in the rover? Oh wait. Yeah, this is steering dampers. Yeah, we don't need this paper. So here's the moment of truth. It's a little weird having it in this clamp, but we're just gonna try and test it out before I take it out of the clamp. That is the sharpest I think I've ever gotten a knife. No joke. Whoa. Oh, that's nice. I've done a fair few knives on this sharpener, and even with this upgrade kit, but that is definitely the sharpest I've ever gotten a knife. I think we're done here. Nice. Very nice. Do people still do that? The Borat thing? No. No? Okay. Just good. I'm glad it's my thing now. Megan, are you cool if we stay and sharpen like 3 or 4 more knives? Yeah. It's only 12:30. It is now Saturday.
Oh my God, is it 12:30?
Yes. Yes, I have been working since 7:30 yesterday.
Doesn't feel like I left.
It does not feel like we left for 6 hours, does it? Oh man, so I tend to keep these alcohol prep pads inside this to, well, one, if I take apart a knife, I want to clean it, but also to get the rest of the Sharpie off the blade. I did not have nearly enough of that. Here is the Work Sharp Precision Adjust with the upgrade kit, and this is an extremely sharp knife that I took from somewhat sharp to hair popping sharp. Maybe not hair splitting sharp, definitely doesn't have a mirror finish on it, but that's a really, really nice edge. Can you get in really tight on that? Like really tight, uncomfortably tight on this blade. Look at that edge. I'm proud of it because honestly, I've not ever been great at sharpening knives. But this right here, I'm proud of this. If you want to check this out, there's a link in the description down below. Thanks again to WorkSharp for sponsoring this video and sending me this kit. It's definitely my go-to kit now. Absolutely is. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful to some of you. If you haven't really used one of these, to see it in action, see how it's used. It's one of those things that you really need to see and then experience to really know what it's all about. And lots of trial and error and practice, but once you put in the time, it's absolutely worth it. So thank you guys again. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, carry on.